to talk Manchester United, and Ruben Amorim described this Manchester United squad as possibly the worst Man United squad in history. I don't know why you guys are all smiling. It's not funny.
It's just been interesting seeing how charged you've been coming into work today.
Yeah,
I can't wait for this segment.
It's not been great. And to be honest with you, that assessment of where Manchester United currently are, in all seriousness, is valid. It is valid. You know, Manchester United, look where they are in the Premier League. You look at the league. You look at how the performances have been. You look at the lack of consistency, the lack of quality, the lack of positive recruitment. Is he just stating the fact, Manny?
I think so, and I can't remember a time when Manchester United have lost that many games at Old Trafford, and it's looked that easy to come to Old Trafford, not just win, but dominate a game. It doesn't look like you're on the front foot ever. Even Southampton came and they looked for 75 minutes like they could have gotten a result. Unfortunately for them, at the end, they crumbled. But I think he looked really weak, and I don't think he's wrong at all.
Quaker, for you, look, there's Ruben Amorim said, you guys like the headlines, you know, basically hear ones for you. Do you think that's to give a little bit of a shock factor to try and wake the players up, or do you think it's a dangerous line in terms of actually publicly stating that, you know, he basically thinks that this is the worst Man United team has been in history?
He's been very transparent ever since he walked through the door at Old Trafford. And I think that's what's been really refreshing about Ruben Amorim. He says it's going to take a long time. Think about 2 or 3 years ago when Rangnick took over as interim boss. He said this is going to require open heart surgery. He's just echoing those sentiments. And this is a Manchester United team that, in the big games against your biggest rivals, if you look at the game against Manchester City away from home, game against Arsenal, game against Liverpool, Manchester United turned up. But in the games against Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton, those games where Manchester United need to assert their dominance, they've struggled. And I think Amorim's just being completely honest. And it's a shock to hear because it's such strong words, but I can understand why he is making it clear to everybody that this is a long-term project. And I do think he's going to be here for the long term, but there is a lot of work to do with this Manchester United squad.
There is an absolutely mammoth task to do at Manchester United.
Facts.
I know. Well,
Sorry.
it's going to take a while. We do know that AC Milan have called their interest in Marcus Rashford as it stands, potentially with them looking forward to take Kyle Walker. Borussia Dortmund have been mentioned for Marcus Rashford. Let's start talking about recruitment, Molly, because if Manchester United are going to get out of this mess or begin to unpack what's happened, it's got to start with recruitment for both ins and out. Marcus Rashford with Dortmund interest.
Yeah, I actually fancy Borussia Dortmund for Marcus Rashford. I think they've done a good job in looking after Jadon Sancho, quite frankly, after a similar situation when it comes to falling out with the hierarchy at Manchester United. They've put an arm around him and certainly looked after him to make sure he can flourish